Canada's Wonderland's new for 2025 coaster, AlpenFury, is a lot more important than you think, even if Canada's Wonderland is not your home park. Hold on, let me explain. Because not only does this coaster look absolutely insane, but it also reveals some important information on what Six Flags' strategy is going forward. Who they're buying coasters from, what features will those coasters have, and how much money are they willing to spend. This is gonna be a fun one, so without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so a few days ago, Canada's Wonderland announced what their new for 2025 attraction was going to be. And it ended up being an insane looking Premier Rides launch coaster. And I'm sure you've watched POVs and know how insane this coaster is going to be, so I'm going to skip all of that. And I'm going to get right into the first thing this shows us about Six Flags' strategy. So the first thing this coaster shows us strategy-wise is that Six Flags is willing to buy from Premier Rides again. So Cedar Fair and Six Flags didn't buy a ton from Premier since the 2000s. You had the occasional Premier Rides clone at the Six Flags parks, but really nothing major. Most of their business had been coming from SeaWorld. And it's interesting that Six Flags and Cedar Fair combined, this new Six Flags company, is now willing to buy from Premier after both separate companies hadn't bought a single coaster in like 10-15 years. So this shows us that Six Flags is willing to start branching out with manufacturers. Six Flags isn't just going to buy RMCs and free spin clones, and Cedar Fair isn't going to be adding one B&M a year anymore. At least we hope. Basically what this means is that Six Flags, the new company, is willing to try out new manufacturers that they have kind of been ignoring the past couple of years. We might start seeing some more RMCs, a few more, and maybe and potentially most importantly of the bunch, is we might start seeing some Intamin coasters start to pop up at these parks. This is super important for the growth of these Six Flags parks because Intamin makes super marketable and really good attractions. And we honestly need to start seeing some more Intamins here in the US. Anyway, it's good to see Six Flags starting to branch out with manufacturers and stuff, and there's a good chance if this all goes well, we start seeing some more Premier Rides coasters. And I'm all for that. Another important thing that we learned from this new coaster is that Six Flags wants to build launch coasters. Launch coaster and chain lifts are out. That's the philosophy I expect to see the new Six Flags company adapt over these next 2 to 3 years. Launches are really marketable, and marketability is one of the most important factors when building a new coaster. And I expect, and this trend does more or less confirm this, I expect that we will be seeing a lot more launch coasters and a lot less chain lifts. And this kind of goes back to, we might start seeing some more manufacturers building coasters for the new company, because both companies, they need to branch out. And if they want to build launch coasters, they can't just be using RMC and B&M the entire time. This should hopefully help us see more Vekoma, more Intamin, more Mock Rides. All these good manufacturers that make really good launch coasters. Hopefully we start to see more of these pop up at parks. And honestly, I'm all for the launch coaster trend. Launches add a super fun element to the ride and doesn't make the start boring. Like, okay, chain lifts on like a Giga Coaster, those are exciting. You get a great view, you get the suspense of the impending drop. But like a 100-foot chain lift on like a family coaster, like that's kind of boring. A launch would be so much better. So expect to see quite a few more launch coasters coming soon. And honestly, I think it's a really good thing. But that's not all the strategy hints we got out of this coaster. Because our third piece of information is that Six Flags is ready to build thrill coasters again. Both Six Flags and Cedar Fair before they merged had both taken a step back when it came to thrill coasters, and were focusing on more family-friendly attractions compared to big thrill coasters. Honestly, the only people who have recently been building thrill coasters is SeaWorld. And they're kind of just doing their own thing over there, and apparently it's working great. But anyway, since COVID, after a brief about 5-year hiatus from building major thrill coasters, it looks like Six Flags is ready to build major roller coasters again. And AlpenFury does help to prove that. We have been waiting for one of these companies to finally build a major thrilling attraction, and I think we finally have our first one. Hopefully this starts to spark a trend where they build major roller coasters, just like the pre-COVID days. And this is a good thing, because a lot of parks are due for a major addition. And if Six Flags is now willing to spend the money, we could end up with some truly spectacular coasters, just like AlpenFury. But we also learned another very key piece of information from this new coaster. And that is that the new Six Flags company cares about capacity. Kind of. The most important thing being that AlpenFury does not have seatbelts. This is a super exciting new trend I'm seeing across new roller coasters from Six Flags. They're not adding seatbelts. And this is a super good thing. Now, you might think seatbelts make you safer, but on many rides, they're completely unnecessary and do not make you safer whatsoever. Now, again, there are some rides where seatbelts are absolutely necessary to act as a secondary restraint, but many coasters, such as B&M Hypers, for example, have secondary restraints built into the main restraints, meaning you don't need seatbelts, and they just slow down operations. But it is nice to see that Six Flags is wanting to focus on capacity, which basically means the lines will move quicker. And not adding seatbelts to their new roller coasters is a big part of this. And I'm really hoping that the operations approve chain-wide, because faster lines equals a better day. And I do hope that unnecessary seatbelts, like on Diamondback and Orion, for example, at Kings Island, do eventually get removed, because that would help with operations so much. But you know how I said Six Flags cares about improving operations? Kind of? Well, here's the kind of part of that. Because AlpenFury operates with two 18-passenger trains, this line is going to be horrendously long and move very slow. And it's the ride's design's fault. Even with the best ride-offs on the planet, this thing, according to El Toro Ryan, would only be able to cycle about 60 times an hour, which only means a capacity of a little over 1,000 people per hour. For context, most B&M Hypers only have to cycle about 30, 31, 32 times to hit that same number. Six Flags knew that this was not a super high capacity attraction, and they were okay with it, even though Canada's Wonderland is one of the busiest theme parks out there. They know the line is going to be long. This is just not a high capacity attraction. But it shows that Six Flags wants to improve their operations, but they are willing to sacrifice operations for an incredible ride experience, which AlpenFury delivers on. But the last and maybe most important piece of information we have gotten from this coaster is that Six Flags is ready to spend money. And we have a perfect combination of factors that should result in a lot of good roller coasters coming soon. Let me explain. So A, Six Flags is ready to work with other manufacturers that can deliver really good rides. They're also willing and ready to start building thrill coasters again. And trust me, AlpenFury is we don't know the exact numbers yet, but it's not going to be a cheap roller coaster. So think, we have almost a perfect storm brewing. Good manufacturers, a willingness to build thrill rides, and then of course, the most important thing, the money to back this up. This is honestly really important, because both companies, before they merged, they had cut back on spending a ton, and they were trying to save as much money as possible. That's why there have been smaller investments over these past couple of years. These two companies were not ready to spend large sums of money on one roller coaster. But with the new merger, it looks like this is about to change. Money, manufacturers, and thrill coasters, it's a perfect combination. And there's a good chance we start seeing some really good thrill coasters popping up at parks over these next 5 to 10 years. And I honestly can't wait to see what comes next. Overall, a great addition to Canada's Wonderland, besides the fact that the capacity is pretty rough, but I'm sure not complaining. Yes, a bit of higher capacity attraction would have been nice, but this ride experience, it's just honestly crazy. We've learned a lot of information and potential strategy from this new roller coaster, and the effects it will have on the entire Six Flags chain, and potentially even your home park too. It's really nice to see Cedar Fair and Six Flags combining and branching out to new manufacturers, but Cedar Fair had some serious beef with Intamin, and probably not for the reason you think, that caused them to not buy an Intamin roller coaster for over 15 years. Check out the video on your screen right now to learn why, because it's really interesting. If you want to see more coaster content just like this, hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like while you're at it, and thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.